And we are live. What's going on, Smarter San Diego fam? It's the real estate debate. It's time to debate the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. Let's welcome. This is perfect timing to welcome Randi Castle into the house right as we are live. Welcome, Randi. What's up, Randi?
Looks like Randi's in the Bahamas already.
She is.
Yeah,
She's on vacation.
I'm already on vacation, guys.
So, Johnny Perez is here, Compass Real Estate. Johnny.
Yes, sir.
My friend, you've been on the show many times before. It's always good to have you here. Matt Huneycutt is here from Whistle Realty, which is powered by EXP. And it's great to have you here, Matt, for the first time on the show. And Randi Castle, great to have you here as well.
Thank you.
Super excited.
Yeah, this is good, guys. So lots going on. Real estate's a big topic of conversation, of course, as it always is in Southern California, especially in San Diego. Right now, we've got a lot of things I think we need to tackle to help people understand what's really happening and how they can take advantage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just start off the first segment, agree or disagree. Johnny, we're going to start with you. Yep. So just tell me if you agree or disagree with this statement and why, and this will be a roundtable discussion. Anybody can jump in anytime. So with rental rates starting to level off, we got some data on this, that the rental increases that we've been seeing have started to level off, flatten, even drop in a few different pockets. Now is not a good time to buy investment property. Agree or disagree, Johnny?
I'm going to have to disagree right out the gates. We're going to have to just disagree on that. I think for the investor, depending on the type of cap rate or where they're looking to do, the way the interest rates are, guys, so low, even on investment properties, that it's cheap money right now. So even if you're getting a 3% cap rate, it's better than what you're getting in the banks. So I'm going to disagree on that, and let's open it up.
I'm going to agree with it, actually. So I'm going to agree for investors that it's not really a good time, because with COVID and everything else that's going on, we're seeing a lot of tenants that aren't making their rents. And so the investors are stuck with their mortgage payments. And we've got a couple properties right now where they are having some issues with that. So I think if you can hold on to it longevity wise, yes, but as for the right here, right now, if you need somebody to help you out by making that mortgage payment every month, making the rent every month, without better plans in place, it's kind of not something to jump into at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Randi, because I think too, a lot of people that are in trouble, or maybe the first time landlords, or maybe the second time landlords that didn't really plan ahead for anything, that they don't have enough cash reserves. I think if you're that sophisticated investor, or if you have the right professional team helping you, you coming in with 20% down, your cap rate's going to be there. And as long as you screen your tenants and you do all your homework, some of our first time landlords, they take the first tenant right off the bat because they don't want to lose a month or two of rent, which is now in some cases they're seeing those effects of that when rent not getting paid and so forth.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm going to unmute Mr. Matt Huneycutt here so we can get his opinion on this, or I'm going to try to unmute him. There you go. It's not letting me. Can I unmute the man?
Here we go. How about that?
There he is. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the disagree camp in a big way, and in part due to both of these inputs. One, when people are scared, I buy. When people are buying, I back out. So right now, people being afraid to buy rental properties because they're worried about tenants, that just tells me it's a good time to keep your eyes open for that fantastic opportunity, because real estate investments are not short-term things. We're not going to trade this property out in 3 weeks, 3 months. We're going to hang on to this thing for a little while. So maybe not buying right now, but if we continue to see more of those horror stories pop up, more of those delinquencies pop up, and the prices continue to come down maybe on those rental properties, I'm looking for a steal of a deal. And so if I'm not buying right now, it's because I'm actually waiting for it to continue to drive down a little bit lower before I get in at the bottom and really take over a smoking deal. But do we not buy when things are weird? No, because COVID's not going to be here forever. We know that.
Yeah, correct. And I think, it's a little bit to the side on this one, which is, I keep getting this weird error message. So sorry if my audio is cutting out. I don't know what's going on. Everything's plugged in. I haven't touched anything, but it is what it is. So, for the landlord by circumstance. So I know everyone on here, we all work with a lot of veterans. Everyone in San Diego who does business in the industry, you work with a lot of veterans that, especially active duty members who may have a short leash on their time frame to be here, and their expectation is to become a landlord. I will say this one thing, as I do tend to agree with this statement, just because of a couple things. The financing for investment properties has gotten a little bit rocky because of the forbearance circumstance and all the concerns around people not being able to afford rent, and therefore those buyers being in bad situations. So there's a little bit of insurance that's priced in now to the rates on some of that stuff. And so it's not as attractive. But if you're landlord by circumstance, meaning that you bought a home that you've lived in and you plan on renting it out as your next step when you move on from San Diego, like we have happened with a lot of active duty military, then you may want to look at how the numbers flush out, because of the fact the market's doing so well, because property values have gone up so much, it may be a little bit cleaner and easier on your life to go ahead and sell it and walk away with some tax-free profit, as opposed to having to worry about some of that stuff while you're out to sea, or overseas. So it may make sense to just say, you know what, I'm gonna dodge this one. This wasn't part of my plan. My plan was to have this long-term, but I got a little gift from the real estate gods, and values went up super quickly for me. I'm able to take this money and go south with it. If you don't know what that means, you don't play enough poker. Go south means you take your chips off the table and you put them in your pocket, because when you get the chance to do that, sometimes, especially a big stack of chips like right now, it does put a lot of people at ease. So I would say consider that, if you're a landlord by circumstance, or if that was just not, part of the long-term plan, that you may be able to exit that due to the fact that the market is so hot. Anyone's thoughts on that?
I'm with you on that. 100%. I'm coaching all of my clients right now and telling them, hey, look, cash out on your equity. And if you are ever planning on moving up on a property, now is a great time to make a lateral move, as long as you can hold on to it, maintain the equity that you had in your first property, and transfer it over to your other property. Also, I'm with you on the FHA-backed loans, and we know that those are seeing a little bit of a hit on them right now, with some defaults on the mortgage payments. So if you have cashed out on your properties, then you're going to free up some liquid cash to be able to buy, just like Matt said, when the timing is right. But I don't think the timing is right now.
All right. Awesome. Terrific opening topic, guys. We've got 3 more coming right at you here. We're on the Real Estate Debate. This is on Smarter San Diego Facebook. We're going to be on YouTube as well. So this one is a question that is more of an opinion, I would suppose. What I wanted to ask you for a hard number, because we look at the movement of real estate values and people are always trying to predict it. When's the right time to buy? When's the right time to sell? Maybe a little bit too much around here even. But how important is the interest rate when deciding to buy a home? And I want you to give me a number 1 to 10, 10 being the most important thing in the world, 1 meaning doesn't matter at all. How important is the interest rate when someone's deciding to buy a home, Randi?
I would say it's an 8 for sure. Because if you are a first-time home buyer, which I do work with a lot of, that's going to, in a market like San Diego where the value prices are really high, if you have a lower interest rate, it's going to increase your purchase power. So I do think that, and I am for people that are holding on to it for a long term, not necessarily for a short term where they can get an ARM or whatever kind of adjustable variable. I think for the long-term people, it's very important as well.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely makes sense. Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, I have so many thoughts about this one, because we're not talking about like temporarily good rates. Like, oh, we're down a half a point for a little while. Like, we're in a climate where interest rates are historically low and apparently getting lower all the time. So how important is it? I don't even know if that's the right framework for the question, really. But here's what I do see regarding those interest rates is that a person who's thinking about buying right now and looking at these low interest rates, what it is doing for them is it is kind of artificially making their home more affordable, right? And so we're in this kind of swing where they're jumping in because now suddenly they either are now into a window where they can buy what they wanted, or they can buy more, right? Which is great for the same price. And what happens with that is that the market is naturally going to respond, right? And we're seeing that too with these skyrocketing prices. Suddenly the affordability for the buyer goes up, and then sellers respond in kind and prices go up. So how important is low interest? Well, I think it's kind of like more important of how fast you move on that. Because if you do move on it now, and you know interest rates are going to continue to stay low or drive lower, then the natural response is that prices are going to continue to go up. So if you don't move on those low interest rates now, you're going to risk that low interest rate, but you're also naturally going to be subjected to higher home prices down the road. So everything that we're talking about in my office is understanding that swing and taking advantage of it and weighing that against the life plan, which is pretty simple. Like, none of this really matters unless you have a real plan to get into the place or not, right? And if you know that you're going to buy and get into it, then sooner is much definitely better than later. And kind of going back to the original question, so how important are those interest rates? Well, how much does that affect your plan or your capability to buy? And it's going to be very much person to person in that way.
Scale of 1 to 10. How important do you think the interest rates are when deciding to buy a home? I'm going to put
10.
you on the spot, Matt. 10? All right. He's going for 10. Johnny, want to get your thoughts on this? And I'm going to double back on something Matt said.
Absolutely. Well, I think, again, rates are always important, right? Because that affordability, it helps our clients afford more of a house. But right now in this market, if you qualify and you can pull the trigger to buy, then it's a 10. We haven't seen these rates at all, right? And we know every 4 years, doesn't matter who gets elected, right? There's always rates, always skyrocket. So if you can take advantage of these lower rates today, for our VA clients that are out there, it's amazing right now what those rates look like. And when you really take that monthly payment and their buying power, it's cheaper to purchase a house than it is to rent a home in San Diego. So if you're in a position to take advantage, pull the trigger and do it. A lot of clients, like you said, Derrick, when's the best time to buy? When should I buy? Should I wait? What if the market goes down? And what if the rates go up? Buy when you can buy, when you qualify to buy. So if that happens to be today, then pull the trigger. I've been in the game for a little bit of time now. And I was looking at past Facebook posts. I was selling at 6.5%, 7% interest rate. And it was still a deal back then. Right. So if you look at San Diego, are we expensive? Yes. Are we continue to go up in price point? I think our medium house is over 600,000 now. And now we're seeing the condos and townhomes start to skyrocket like they did 3-4 years ago. But there's still affordability with the rates being as where they're at in the lower rates. So for today's market, it is important. I think it's a 10. Take advantage of it. If you're on the fence, jump in. If you can afford it, do it. And remember, you're buying real estate, which is a long-term investment. This is not a quick turn in a year or two.
I'm going to be the one who is the dissenter here, I think. So I think that the importance of the interest rate when deciding to buy a home is at a scale of 1 to 10 is probably a 2. But people think it's a 10. And the reason that they think it's a 10 is because they think that they're going to somehow beat the market in some fashion. But what we can see if we look at the data is that values go up as interest rates go down. And that's been very, very consistent. That's the biggest macro trend that we've got. So what's happening is that the market is self-correcting that. If rates go up, prices tend to come down eventually, right? So this is big swings. So you can't really beat the market where you're like getting a rate and a price combined that are both better than what the market is yielding. You're going to get the market when you buy a home, right? Especially in San Diego, you're not going to, pull the wool over someone's eyes. You're going to get what the market is. So I like the idea of looking at the home purchase process as something that's more existential, something that's bigger. This is a big part of our life plan, our home ownership strategy, our retirement strategy, even more so. As we know, 73% of people who are able to retire own their home free and clear. So it's a big part of the equation. So if you want to own, if you want to retire, if you want to actually be able to sit back and take it easy at some point, you're going to need to own a home free and clear, which means the sooner you start paying on that mortgage, the sooner you have it paid off, the sooner you have the opportunity to do that. And to double back to something that Matt said was, that, it's a risk if you wait. And it really is, because the risk is that when you take a guaranteed loss, is what you do when you rent. If I take a guaranteed loss for a year, and I just talked to a gentleman today, and I don't know what to say when they tell me I just signed a lease for another year, because it's kind of too late at that point, right? It's like, well, all right, hey, I'll be here when you need me. I don't know what else to say, but if you're signing up for a guaranteed loss, but you may actually, in order to win, you need prices to come down however much you're paying in rent for that year just to be in the same spot you were. If prices continue to go up, then you lost on both sides. You lost on throwing the money away to rent. You lost on the potential equity you would have had. You lost on the potential principal pay down that you would have made that whole year. You could have owned that home. So you lose in so many places. You have the potential to lose in so many places. And it's been consistent for 10 straight years, a decade in San Diego, that you've lost when you've made that decision to wait. So that's the thing that I think we need to really communicate when we look at, what happens when you wait. And it's not just about tax deductions or this or that. It's about taking a guaranteed loss and then having the potential to lose in other places versus, saying, hey, I'm going to jump in here. I'm not going to worry too much about the interest rate because, hey, guess what? If rates go down, you can refinance. If rates don't go down, then congratulations. You got a rate that you can't beat. And prices are going to go up or down over time. But if we have a long-term strategy, we don't care so much about that. So I know I'm the dissenter on this one, but I'll open the floor up for counter arguments.
It's all right. In one way or another, it's all right. I mean, if you look at like Derrick, you look at the stats, most people move within 7 to 8 years. I think probably the majority of homeowners, at least in Southern California, they're probably not sticking out their full 30. So, I mean, it really is a real conversation about getting a quote unquote good deal on a home. Because, I mean, if you're looking at that and you say, okay, plus or minus $10,000, that's about the average principal reduction on a standard home loan across the board. So if a person can find a way to, at least stave off that 10 grand, then that's an extra year of living in their home that they can avoid when they're ready to move out of San Diego if they do quote unquote buy right.
Why would you leave, Matt?
You shouldn't. I've been here 16 years. I'm not going anywhere.
Tell me. Yes. Almost the same, almost the exact same for me. Yeah. Where are you going? I mean, I know all these people who, got lured into North Carolina or wherever, and they come back. Randy, what do you think?
I say they're going to Texas.
Texas, yes. Arizona,
all
Texas.
of them. They're going to Austin.
We'll see how long they stay.
Same climate here as San Diego.
Is it?
Yeah, that's what they say. It's same climate. It's the same like latitude, longitude, same like.
Oh, okay. Like same level
same climate. Yeah, latitude. Sea level. Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. All right. I haven't heard that before, but I've never been to Austin, so I can't speak to it.
Joe Rogan moved there.
Is that where he moved?
Yep.
Interesting. All right. Well, I know what his reasons were.
Yeah.
State taxes. Hey, when you sign a $100 million contract, guess what? State taxes at 14% add up. He's probably paying more in taxes than I'm making here easily. So he could save that money, just the state taxes. He can save that money just by going to Texas and still have a home in California and still play around wherever he wants to.
No, I heard he was selling his home. He was upset. He was selling it, I think, for like $4 billion. And he said it was like tent city. You sell a $4 million home and there's like tent city right in front of his house. So
holy smokes.
I guess they're having a lot of homeless issues and whatnot. So
I just talked to someone who was in New York recently, and the first thing he texted me was, I cannot believe that a city can deteriorate so quickly. Yeah. He'd been there for he hadn't been there for like 6 or 8 months, not that long. He said it's just, or pre-COVID, he said it's just you can't believe it's like apocalypse. But we don't have that in San Diego. So fortunately, it's not something we're dealing with. In fact, we've just got a red hot real estate market is what we've got here. So let's jump to the next one here, guys. It's a great conversation. Really appreciate everyone's input. Share this with your friends, by the way. Let's help make them smarter, help get them educated about real estate. Share this post if you're watching this right now. So this one's going to be true or false. And Matt, we're going to come back to you to start. So true or false? Buying a single family home is a much better idea than an attached condo for long-term equity growth.
Oh man, I'm definitely pro detached home. But there's a caveat to that. Particularly detached home, no HOA. And the HOA has everything to do with it, in my opinion. One of the things I talk about with my clients when we first sit down is, hey, when you're looking at an attached home, you're going to have HOA in some cases, Melrose. You're looking at the detached home. Sometimes you'll have HOA, but it'll typically be much lower than the attached homes. And it's because of the infrastructure costs of that community. and they don't ever go down. That's just a fact of life. So when you buy into one of those communities, it might be in an area, it might be in a zip code that tracks equally with a neighboring detached home, right? You can be in one of the premier zip codes in San Diego, but all it takes is the deterioration of the community in time for those HOA costs to go up, and then the real savings that you get on that property are going to be impacted by that. So for that reason alone, I'm bullish on detached homes, but I can't really speak statistically whether the detached homes appreciate at a greater rate than the attached homes do. I haven't done the research on that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Johnny, what do you think about that one?
Man, I'm going to throw a curveball here. I don't think there's a pro or a con. I think it goes back to that buyer, what their lifestyle is, what they're looking for. Yes, we've seen a lot of movement from the city out to the suburbs, right, for that extra bedroom, that backyard, that pool. But then there's a lot of families that say, hey, listen, I'm on a fixed income or budget, and having an HOA fits me better because I'm a first-time home buyer. And having that pool for the kids to go swimming that I don't have to maintain. Do I pay an HOA? Yes. And some can argue, well, having an HOA, you don't have broken down cars in the front of the house. You don't have a pink house in the middle of all these beautiful white homes. There's different colors or elevations. So I think it all depends on the person, all depends on the lifestyle, depends on the budget. We've seen appreciation to touch base on what Matt was saying. There's some areas of San Diego that the appreciation on condos right now are 15, 18%. Then there's other areas in San Diego where single family residents have gone up 20%, 15%, the same numbers. So again, is there a pro or con? No, I think it depends on the lifestyle. There's folks that they want to live in the city and they're okay paying $700, $800 a month for that HOA because they have valet service, because they have, use of the yacht or dry cleaners or whatever that is, the exercise room or the pool. So I'm going to have to say, I'm going to just be neutral in that one and leave it up to the clients and their lifestyle.
He said the yacht. You're talking about some crazy HOAs, bro. What is this Pacific Gate we're talking about now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I heard you're taking us out on that next week, Derrick, just for being on your show. So I want to thank you.
The HOA hooks you up.
Thank you so much, Derrick. I appreciate that. I want to be right up front.
That's terrific. Randy, what are your thoughts on this one? True or false? Let me repeat it. Buying a single family home is a much better idea than an attached condo for long-term equity growth. So equity growth meaning growing appreciation in the home value.
I think I'm going to go with false, because here's my reasoning. Anytime that you can afford to buy a home is a good time in San Diego. I would go with, if you could not afford to buy a regular detached home, we're seeing a lot of people in San Diego, they are able to afford a condo. They're able to afford something where it is comfort and it's home. At the same time, they're making their own mortgage payment. They're building equity. The growth might not be as fast as we'd see in a detached home, but it depends on where you're at. Like Johnny said, it depends exactly on where you're at. If you're looking at downtown condos, if you're looking around any of the coastal communities, then obviously you're going to see some kind of growth there as well. And so I would say, sorry, I've got my little one popping in to say hi to me. So you know how it is.
Got distractions.
Totally.
So I'm going to say anytime that you can afford to get into a home, whether it's a condo or a detached home, that's a good time. I would go and get into a condo because you're still going to have the longevity of the growth, because you can always take the equity that you've made from the condo and be able to move it over to a detached home when you want to upgrade and you want to purchase somewhere else. So you're not ever going to lose anything. It's always a win-win.
Yeah. And I totally understand that. I want to make sure it's clear before I give my 2 cents on this one, that I'm certainly not poo-pooing a condo or anyone who wants to buy one. There's nothing wrong with it, but to stay really true and precise to the question on which one's better for long-term equity growth, the reason I'm going to say it's true that buying the single family home will be much better is just a simple supply and demand situation. So we're seeing like a lot of the new construction now is attached stuff. And I think we're going to continue to see that be the case because, and listen, builders they're really up against it. Like I would not want to be a builder in this climate. Like what a difficult thing to do to try to build and make a profit with all the stuff and regulations you have to deal with. And every unit has to have solar now and blah, 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 blah. It just never ends. So it's difficult to be a builder and make a profit. and therefore they're going to be doing a lot more attached. That's what you're seeing. A lot of the new construction is attached. The detached stuff is basically attached, but it's just, separated by like 5-6 feet, from one place to the next. So
If that.
you know what I mean? Like, so the single family home, I'll tell you what Michael Harris told me, who I don't know if he's still the executive director for the Building Industry Association or not, but he was when I was the executive director at the Union Tribune, or the UT, for real estate. And he told me in my office, I said, what do you think, man? He knew everything. He knew all the stats about everything that was being built, what the problems were. And he said, listen, buy a house with an acre of land if you can find one, because they 100% for sure will never be able to build them again. So however many of them there are out there, that's the limit. That's the end of it. So, if you want to buy something that can be coveted, you got to buy something that, so they can't make any more of. And so I think, the detached homes are definitely in demand, but there are plenty of people. I had a, single mom, active duty military, who wanted a condo. She wanted neighbors. She wanted people to be, or she felt safer that way, to have people always within an earshot, and to not have to, be alone at any point going into, the home and things like that. So some people will see comfort in it. They will want the amenities and will not want to take care of them and all those things. There's nothing wrong with it, but I do believe long-term, you will see better appreciation for your dollar invested if you go detached. If you can, it's tough right now. It's especially difficult. And so something to keep in mind, but I think most people do prefer detached initially, but sometimes when you start looking at the attached opportunities, there's some really cool stuff going on. There's yachts, there's all.
I'm excited for next week now, Derrick. What you said Thursday, right? So if you guys are listening on Facebook, I think Derrick's going to take maybe a handful of you. So go ahead and like us and share us now. So if you like us and share us now, you will be eligible to be one of the 5 chosen.
You'll be entered automatically to take Johnny's spot on the yacht.
There you go.
And there are a couple of actual pieces inside of that too, Derrick. And what you mentioned, we talked about appreciation as one factor toward your equity. That's the upswing.
Sure.
But then you got the principal reduction, and that's where the HOA thing for me is. If we're just strictly looking at the numbers, more bang for your buck comes from the detached homes. So if you apples to apples, if you're paying the same mortgage rate on one property that's got a $250 HOA a month versus a detached home that doesn't, at the end of the day, you're naturally going to net more with the detached home. So and that's one factor of it. But then the demand side of things, like how much more do people really demand the detached homes? I mean, and then the lifestyle, like Johnny said, that's a different set of factors altogether.
Yeah, agreed. Well, it's one of those things that, we probably could pull a bunch of numbers out on this and figure it out. But reality is right now, everything's doing really well. You can
There's
look at
no way to go wrong here.
You right now you can't miss. I mean, anyone who bought a house, that's the great thing about real estate, right? You don't have to be savvy. You don't have to, be like some genius or have perfect timing like everyone thinks. All you have to have is time in. That's it. And sometimes you get lucky and you buy a house, you have no idea what you're doing. And 3 or 4 years later, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. And that wasn't even part of the plan. And anyone who bought 3 or 4 years ago for the last 10 years has experienced that. So it's one of those things that, we're not telling you, hey, you've got to memorize all these numbers in order to do this right. No, you just have to get on the right side of the river. That's literally it. All right, guys, final topic. Let's jump into this. This is opinion. And I want to make this sort of open-ended so that you can kind of take it where you want to with it. Randy, we'll start with you. Your opinion. Who is really winning in this market and why?
My opinion is I think everybody's winning as long as they're in real estate. For sellers, I think now is the time that everybody says, when's the best time to sell? When am I going to get top dollar? I think they're getting top dollar right now because of the rates are so good and the buyers are just really competing. So the buyers that are able to purchase right now and are getting those really good rates and able to secure an investment for themselves and for their future growth, I think they're just kind of it's a win-win situation right now. Sellers are getting what they want, buyers are getting what they want. But I think, and especially our VA clients, because those VA loans are like hotcakes right now, man. The rates are amazing and you're able to get them in and get them accepted. I'm seeing multiple offers on all my listings coming in from VA buyers because those are the loans that seem to be the easiest to get approved for right now. And those are essential workers.
Yeah, they are. No question about that. And they are pretty straightforward. That's one thing that's nice about the VA home loan benefit. It's a straightforward thing where, you know, if you know how to do it, you can count on it. It's good as gold. And that totally makes a lot of sense. So you're kind of saying, hey, everybody's winning. As long as you're in this game, you're winning no matter which side you're on. Right now. Mm-hmm. And that's really been the case for years and years. You could make the argument for the last decade. That's really, really been the case. Johnny, what are your thoughts on that? Who's winning this market and why?
Well, it kind of reminds me of the 06 market. Sellers are definitely winning when it comes to top dollar, no repairs, overappraised value, right? And if the pendulum swings, we look at a buyer. Yes, our VA buyers are the top of the food chain, so to speak, because they have the best loan out there. But they're also up against 19 offers. So, you know, walking a buyer off that ledge after submitting 4 or 5 offers on homes is very tough for a buyer. But the reward is when they do receive that home or they do get offered, their offer does get accepted, then it's amazing, right? Now they're winning because now they're on that side of the railroad tracks and they're winning. So in today's market, I say a seller, because it is a seller's market. We know what's happening. We know what's going on. Sellers are able to dictate all the rules and everything they want to do, terms, conditions, everything. They're just winning. The flip side of that is I think obviously our real estate professionals, we all are winning. And I think also, again, it reminds me of 06, 07 as we're transitioning into this type of market and it's getting more heated, more work and more clashing with the agents. We're going to see the best of the best agents excel when it comes to contracts because I'll tell you right now, a lot of real estate attorneys, they're winning right now, believe it or not. They are backlogged. And why? Because of the transition of the market, because of all the creativeness that we as brokers now have to put in our offers, right? Our escalation clauses, this clause, that clause. So again, sellers are winning. Buyer is on the bottom of that pole until we get their offer accepted. Then of course they're on the other side of the railroad track and they're going to take advantage because they're going to have a home to live in. They're no longer renting. They're going to get the tax benefits and that super low rate. So that's my 2 cents.
I love it, man. So those real estate attorneys, you must hang out with those guys. That's why you're thinking about yachts and stuff like that. I believe real estate attorneys been taking you out on yachts, Johnny.
Man, I just, you know what? I hang with them because I have to make sure that my contracts are on point because we're winning every house. We are winning every house. So you agents, brokers listening, hey, when it comes to negotiation, we're on point. So
he's coming for it. I love it. Matt, let me get your thoughts on this. Who's winning in this market and why?
I agree. It's on both sides. And that's what happens when money gets cheap, Derrick. I would say if anybody's losing, it might be the banks, but let's be honest, they're never losing.
Not with Fed rate at 0.
No.
You know, they're getting free money to lend out. What an unfair advantage, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could just get free money however much you want, invest it however you want?
Yeah.
That's literally what they have right now. Free money.
Just get together and do that. Like, I'm down.
But the people always say, well, the Fed's printing money. They don't really print money anymore. It's just on a spreadsheet. It's just a number on a computer screen. They're just like, add a 0 to that one, send it to those guys. I mean, that's all it is.
They just type in more money.
Yeah, they don't. The printing press doesn't. You know, they don't have to fire. They don't actually have to print off $1 billion or $2 billion or $10 billion or trillion. They just put it on a spreadsheet. Add it here. Add a new line. Insert row. Literally, isn't that crazy? So it's different these days. And I'll add a little bit to this, and then I'd love to spend just a couple minutes with each of you on. And I know we didn't prepare for this, but I'll give you a little time to prepare right now as I give my thoughts on this. Is just advice you have, whether it's for buyers or sellers, that your best nugget that you have right now. I'll come around the horn and get that from you here in just a second. My opinion on who's really winning in this market. I mean, sellers, obvious. Sellers have been winning, you know, in this market for a long time and probably always will. It's a very desirable place to be. You're always going to be in a good shape, you know, when you're selling, unless we have a global financial meltdown caused by real estate like we did in the crash. Okay. Unless that happens again, which there's so many protections in now. You saw how quickly the government got ahead of this time, and they know what to do this time. Last time they didn't really know what to do. I don't think that will ever be possible to happen again. Well, does that mean real estate values will never go down again? No, that could still happen, but you won't see a collapse like that because there's things that have been put in place to prevent it that weren't there before. But sellers are winning. You know, buyers are having a hard time. This is a hard market for buyers. There's lots of competition. Prices are high. Rates are low, which is great. But, you know, prices are commensurate. Remember, again, you can't cheat the market. You can't buy a house below market value and get record interest rates. It doesn't work. When record interest rates are around, values go up. So that's just, one is a result of the other. But I really will say who's winning right here. are homeowners who may seem to be docile. And I made a video this morning about this. It may seem to be docile, but because they're not buying or selling, but they're refinancing and using equity, especially if you're VA eligible and you can do up to 100% cash out. This is a heck of a time where your house is going to appraise for whatever number you put on there pretty much. So, you know, you have a chance to utilize equity, diversify investments, buy other real estate, you know, consolidate debts, do all sorts of things, improve your property, put an ADU. I mean, some of the numbers, I'm going to do a couple of videos about ADU specifically here in the coming weeks. We've got a full turnkey solution on that. The numbers are nuts. People are, you know, using cash out and spending $300 to $500 a month more on their payment, but they're getting an ADU that's going to get them $1,500 to $2,000 more a month in income. I mean, and the value of their home is going up far more than what it costs for them to build this thing. So there's people here who are sort of silently winning, but it's a small minority of like the savviest of savvy. And that's the reason I made the video, because I want to really put it out there like, yo, if you feel like you're on the sidelines and your taxes are just getting racked up because these prices are going higher, you don't have to, you know, just be completely, you know, unparticipative. You can get into this and you can utilize what's happening in the market to your own benefit. Not for everyone, but there are some people who have the ability to take advantage of this. And I just want to make sure that they understand that they have that. So let's go around the horn. Matt, I'm going to start with you. Best nugget that you have right now, whether it's for buyers, sellers, people on the sidelines renting, what's your best nugget right now for this market?
Best nugget would be take advantage of getting in now, because like we talked about, as those interest rates continue to go down, price continues to trend up, and price trends up anyway. But we know that if you get in now, you essentially stop the prices before they continue to rise. And who cares what the interest rate is? Because as long as it's going down, you can lock in your price now, and then you can refinance later as the rates continue to go down. It's the biggest win there is. If, like Johnny said, you can muscle your way in there and actually get an accepted offer, which is the tough part. So here's that's my main nugget. Main nugget 1.A or whatever would be to work with a really good, well-connected real estate agent, because going in there and trying to, you know, muscle your way in is not the way to do it. You need to talk with people who have good connections that are going to promise good transactions. It's all about the network. It's all about working with good, solid people that's going to get you accepted in this tough market.
Yeah, communication has never been as important now. You know, it's never been this important to be able to communicate clearly when you have an offer, to listen to the instructions of the listing agent. You know, when the listing agent says, this is how I want to show the property, or this is how you can set up a showing, or this is how you submit an offer, you need to follow those instructions. Because it's just, when they have 30 offers, the people who don't follow instructions, do they really want to do a transaction with that person? You know, it's starting things off the wrong way. So yeah, communication is really, really crucial right here. And being connected always matters in this market. San Diego has always been a behind the curtain kind of real estate market. And you can have big advantages if you know people, and if you've done good transactions with people, and if you've been good and fun to work with and easy to work with and reasonable, because there are some psychos out there. Let's be honest. And there's also some just dingbats.
Psychos and amateurs that seem psycho because they are so novice.
So amateur. Yeah, there's some dingbats, there's some psychos. So you don't want to be labeled like that, because those people sit around and wonder why their offers don't get accepted. And we didn't know why, but you know, their client doesn't know. So, you know, that's one thing that's super important as well. Johnny, what do you got for me? What's your best nugget right now?
I'm going to add right on that with Derrick. I think if you're a buyer or seller out there, make sure you're interviewing your broker. Make sure they're a full-time broker. We have a lot of people jumping back in the market, right? We saw this in 05 and 06. Everybody says, oh, I want to sell real estate. You put a sign up, and by lunchtime, the house is sold, and we're going to lunch and happy hour, and it's a win-win. Folks, if you're out there, do your due diligence on your agents. Make sure they're a professional. Make sure they're full-time. And I hate going back and forth, but Derrick, that's the reality of it. Some of these agents, they don't pick up their phones. They don't communicate, you know, and at the end of the day, we are a people business. And it has to start with us as the professionals. So if you're out there, buyer, seller, investigate who you're hiring to sell your home. You know, do your due diligence behind the scenes. And of course, buyers and sellers, I mean, you're going to win-win either way, as long as you have the right team supporting you.
Good stuff, Johnny. Appreciate that. Randy, what's your best nugget? What do you got for us?
Best nugget, I would say, especially for the buyers right now, don't give up. Be patient. if it's when it's meant to be, it'll be. And the home, I'm a firm believer of the home picks the owner. So once you walk in, you see the home, you fall in love with the home, and everything will just work itself out. So I know a lot of buyers, they go, oh my gosh, this was the perfect home. But then when they actually get into the home that they get an accepted offer on, they're very grateful for not being able to rush getting the first offer accepted, and they can see, oh wow, well, I'm so glad we got this home instead of the first one because this has a much bigger yard, or this one's perfect for me, or whatnot. So I would say for the buyers just to have patience, and stick close by your, get, like you guys all said, get a good agent that's reputable and known in the community and can get offers accepted and has a good reputation behind them, because, you know, that's essentially knowing different agents in the field. That's what's going to get your offer accepted. If you're going up against, you know, so-and-so's cousin who done 2 deals, and you're up against, you know, you're laughing, but it's true, so-and-so's cousin that's done 2 deals and can't follow the instructions in the listing, and then, you know, you have a reputable agent that you've worked with before in the past, and you know that they can close deals, you're going to go with that agent. So I would say just get a good agent, stick with it, and sellers, don't get too greedy.
You know, I'd like to comment on that if I can real quick, Derrick. You're spot on. You're spot on, Randy. You're spot on. And you know, what's really, I think, a good transition from the COVID market that we're seeing is we are, as real estate in our whole market and profession, we have now become more efficient. And I think that's like the plus that we've gained out of this pandemic for us as a business as a whole and an industry, is we become more efficient. What I mean by that is buyers are only looking at houses if they're qualified. So there's no more looky-loos. There's no more open houses. There's no more, let me just knock on the door, see if I can get in. So I think for us as real estate professionals, we see that, and sellers are now getting more virtual showings than ever before, and these private showings. And I think the market is moving so great for us right now, and it's been so efficient that, yeah, you definitely want to jump in and take advantage of it. But I just wanted to point that out, that one positive out of this pandemic is we've become an efficient market and an efficient real estate professionals.
Catalyst for change and technology and efficiency have taken place all across the board. I think it's actually one of the reasons why we're going to see the San Diego market continue to rise, because if people are able to work from home, and a lot of people are now, and you get to choose where you live, guess where a lot of people are going to choose to live? Plain and simple, right? So we're going to see that continue to be a trend for quite some time here. I've got a couple of nuggets, and then we can open it up if anybody has anything else to add. Love to hear from you guys further. The first one is for sellers. You know, when we're talking about picking an agent, it's obviously super crucial. So make sure you realize just how powerful your position is as a seller. When we're talking about, you know, not being greedy, what we mean there is don't be silly. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, your listing price or whatever it may be, but the terms, go ahead and be greedy on those. Hey, we want to, you know, be in place for 60 days. After close of escrow, no charge. Throw something like that out there. You'd be surprised how many buyers right now would say, all right, okay, is that what it takes for us to get it? Okie doke. So, because I think a lot of sellers are sort of frozen right here. They're in what I call the real estate catch-22. They want to move to something else, but they have a hard time with it because they know that they're going to be able to sell really quick and do well there, but they're going to have a hard time on the buy side, and they keep seeing stuff pop up and then it's gone really quick. And so it concerns them. So just know, as a seller, you can put stuff in the contract that says, listen, we're not going to, you know, fully accept this offer, move forward until we get an offer accepted on another property. I mean, you can write a lot of stuff into a contract, right? So you can do a lot of things that put you in the driver's seat and keep you in the driver's seat so that you don't have a gun to your head when it comes to, you know, time to close escrow on your sale. So that's my advice for sellers is, you know, don't be greedy on price, because the market's going to dictate that and it's going to do good for you. You don't have to figure that out. The market will figure it out for you. But on terms, go ahead and be greedy there. Go ahead and say some crazy stuff. People will probably say, okay. And if it makes you feel better and it makes you feel comfortable and gives you an advantage on your other side, your buy side, then you should take advantage of that. For buyers out there, I'm going to echo what Randy said and say, you got to be patient. This is a good, chance to say, hey, listen, we're coming up on the election. We're what, 6 weeks out or something like that? It's like 6 or 7 weeks. So, and then we're heading in the holidays right afterwards. So maybe we'll see, maybe not. Maybe we'll see things slow down a little bit. Maybe we'll see some opportunities. Maybe we'll see a little inventory. How do you position yourself for that? Don't sign a 12-year lease. Don't do that. if you need to continue to rent, if you need to extend a lease, do a month to month. I know it's going to cost a little bit more, but look at what it does. That $100 extra a month that costs you or whatever to be month to month creates so much flexibility for you. It creates so much flexibility for you when you're writing offers, when you're looking at properties, that you can pull the trigger whenever you're ready. And if it goes south, you can also hang back. You're really in the driver's seat. The best position to be in if you're a renter right now is not in a 12-year lease or 12-month lease. It's in a month-to-month scenario where you can dictate things. You can jump in and jump out of the market as you see properties that you like and not have to worry about timing so much. So I think that's really the only way to put yourself in an advantageous position as a buyer right here. And, there are a lot of buyers who aren't putting themselves in that position. And that's part of the reason why, as a seller, you're able to name it, because they're stuck. They have to move. They have to be out by this date, or they have to do this, or they have to do that. And that's what can kind of create some of those things. So I think if you can set yourself up to not be in that situation, you'll really have a good chance to win in this market.
I would like to add too, for renters, the one good thing, if you are insisting on signing another lease, asking the owner if you can put a clause in there that you're able to break the lease if you purchase a home and you go into contract. So, maybe like do an extra, pay 1 month, or put that, just have that clause added into your lease and make sure that you ask that can be in there.
I just used the reactions for the first time. You guys see that? Is that on my screen?
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, genius. That's where we talk about, like, in real estate, we know it because we see it. Everything's negotiable. There's always an opportunity for you to sort of set things up the way you want, but you have to ask. So that's a great point, Randy. Like, hey, if this leasing guy wants to sell me this, or wants to get me to sign on the dotted line, hey, I need you to add a clause in here for this. Right? Why not ask? Why not try to set yourself up for success? Anybody else have anything you want to add? Johnny and Matt, you guys good?
I would say on that note, when it comes to making deals, I think all four of us here know that those deals are made face-to-face or voice-to-voice. If you want to get anything done in this market, whether it be with the landlord or with a person across the table, on a property sale, you need to make that deal with a human connection. And then you'll know right away, like, it might not be the exact square-shaped structure that we're offering, but hey, we'll take a rectangle. Okay. All right. Now we're getting somewhere. And then you just shape it up. And then by the time you figure out what's happening on the other side, you've created a nice connection. You've got a good construct, and then you can put that in writing, and you've saved everyone a lot of time. You're on the same page, and it's really easy to accept. When you do that, life gets real easy, real quick.
I love it, man. That's some savvy advice there. Yep. Tremendous stuff, guys.
Learned it from you.
Well, yeah, that's good advice, Matt. You got to know that, even for renters or tenants out there, everything's negotiable, guys. So, landlords want to work with you because they don't want to have the house vacant. So they'll be happy to do a month to month versus sign another year lease. As long as you're up front and you let them know exactly what's going on. I know a couple agents that do a lot of property management, and they are now writing it in their contracts that if that tenant decides to purchase, if they represent them, which is, I thought, was very smart by those brokers, if they get represented by that broker who does the property management, then they'll get them out of their lease. And so there's a clause in there too. And of course that broker will satisfy the seller and get a new tenant in there for them. So, but yeah, everything's negotiable, guys, in any market.
Yep, sure is. It's a great advice. I really appreciate y'all's time so much. Thank you so much for coming on today and giving us your 2 cents on this crazy market that we have in San Diego and how to succeed. Really appreciate you guys spending the time. Thank you so much
for having me, having us.
Great to have you.
And I got to say, Randy, we love your hype man. We love your hype man back there, man. He was just popping up and shaking
we
and
got to
baking
bring back up dancers.
As tame as possible, guys.
But that's the reality of Zoom. You never know what's going to happen.
That's true. That's true. And we are learning that. We're still in this virtual world, which I think, post-election we'll probably be mostly out of it. But hey, for now, we got to do what we do. We got to deliver education to people. We got to make sure that you are smarter than everyone else. So share this video and let's help make your friends smarter than everyone else too. Thanks a lot, guys. See you soon.